All right. Well, today we are getting into kind of a controversial matter, and that's going to be Gen X versus Gen Z and the battle of values, right? So, there's a Cold War that's being fought in the modern workplace and in life, not over profits, but Slack channels and tense team meetings. Think of the workplace as a house. On one side, you have Generation X. We're the architects, being me, who designed the floor plan and live by a simple code, work hard to get ahead. On the other side, you have the Gen Zs. They're the digital natives who are working into that house, not as guests, well, let's say walking into the house, but not as a guest. More like a home inspector, asking questions that drive their bosses and any other human completely crazy. But why was it built this way? But why this? But why that? Why do you want me to do this? And why do you want me to do that? Because of why? And it drives you nuts. This is more than just a difference of opinion. It's a fundamental clash of values that is creating real friction. Gen X people, the frustration is boiling over. On one survey, 9% of workers believe Gen Z has the strongest work ethic. 9%. But is it laziness? Or is it rebellion against the very blueprints us, the Gen X, have established? Let's break down the conflict. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to enjoy my Zen and I'm going to get into this with you guys. For the Gen X, the career path was a ladder. Okay, we paid our dues. We busted our ass climbing rung by rung, painful rung to achieve stability in life. Our job was a core part of our identity. Now, Gen Z, they enter the world armed with terms like quiet quitting, doing only the bare minimum required. To a Gen X, this is like shifting the car to neutral on the highway. It feels dangerous, rejection of the loyalty and ambition they value. Um, a recent survey found 76% of Gen Z workers would rather have a work life balance than a bigger salary. For them, it's not about coasting, it's about refusing to redline the engine and risk total breakdown. That single statistic reveals that the core of battle with Gen X's loyalty to the company or life is being replaced by Gen Z's loyalty to themselves, and it's causing chaos. Like, do you really understand what it takes to survive in this world? That's what I just want to say to them. So we talk about the architects, us, and them, the revolutionaries. So us, Gen X, them, Gen Z. First, let's understand the combatants here. Gen X, we were typically born between 1965 and 1980. We're kind of like the Swiss Army knives of the workforce. As the original latchkey kids, as we were called, we grew up with economic uncertainty. We became fiercely independent and resourceful. We witnessed the birth of the internet, making an adaptable bridge between the analog and digital worlds. Our work ethic is pragmatic. A job is straightforward. Contract where labor is exchanged for a living. Very simple for us. Then you have the Gen Zs. They were born between 1997 and 2012. Think of them less as a single tool, more than like nodes on the internet interconnected by default. As the first true digital natives, their lives were shaped by smartphones and social media. They came of age during global recessions and intense social justice movements, all while having urgent conversations about mental health. Okay, mental health is real, I get it. This created a purpose. Driven driven generations, but also one that reports the highest level of stress a fact that often baffles the Gen Xers, us, or me. While Gen X, while being a Gen X, we learned to be self-reliant out of necessity, right? It was important. Gen Z learned to be interconnected by design. The core difference is a primary source of frustration in today's world. Wow. I told you I was going to get into this. Now we talk about the work ethic war, the hustle culture versus healthy boundaries. This brings us to the main battlefield, the fight over what it means to be a good employee. For Gen X, like myself, my work ethic is like a scoreboard. You prove your worth with long hours and intangible results. The final score is what matters. Whether you won by 1 point or you won by 10 points, you won. We expect others to show the same drive, running a full court press until the final buzzer goes off. Our frustration peaks when they see a lack of it. Our attitude is more like, I've paid my dues, now it's your turn. Gen Zs, on the other hand, their views are different. They look at it like a playbook as a recipe for burnout. And 72% reporting burnout symptoms. They have a point, so give them that. Their response, rejecting hustle culture with concept like quiet quitting, is seen by us, the Gen Xers, as a profound lack of ambition. According to Gallup survey, over half of Gen Z workers are not engaged at work. Seriously? A statistic that confirms every Gen X manager's or parents' worst fears. From a Gen X perspective, this looks like entitlement. It echoes complaints about declining student effort even before Gen Z reached the workforce. They hear Gen Z talk about the system is broken, of stagnant wages, student debt, but questions why that translates to not giving their all. When Gen Z demands flexibility, purpose, and mental health support, Gen X often hears a desire to work less and be coddled a lot more. A stunning 92% of recent Gen Z grades say talking about mental health and work is vital. So they're talking about being able to talk about mental health at work is vital to their job, leaving us, the Gen Xers, the leaders, wondering when feelings became more important than the final score or the job. I don't know. So here's my question for you. So which side of this conflict do you see every day? Are you the Gen X manager, frustrated that your new hires or children, employees, seem to expect a trophy just for showing up? Or are you the Gen Z employee who feels like boss's definition of hard work is just a toxic recipe for burnout? Drop your story in the comment. I'd like to hear it. I want to hear about the frustrations you're seeing firsthand. And we talk about beyond the clock, a clash of social and communicative values. The conflict doesn't stop at 5 p.m. Their communication styles and social values create friction at every turn. Let's start with mental health. For Gen X, work was a stage. You left your personal bullshit in the wings. Gen Z sees the office as a living room where the whole person, including their anxieties, is present. Around 45 or 46% of them report feeling anxious most of the time at work, and they expect their employer to provide support to them. Man, that's not where I come from. When 61% of Gen Z workers say that they'd leave their job for better mental health benefits, it can feel like a threat to the Gen X generation, or us. Then you have the diversity and inclusion. Okay, so for Gen X, me, I was often like a building permit, a checklist to ensure fairness and meet legal requirements. For Gen Z, the most diverse generation in history, it's like interior design. It's about reacting. How do I say this? React, creating a space where everyone's identity feels authentically reflected. They expect to see the world in the workplace, and 83% say it's a major factor when choosing an employer. Really? Okay. Gen X leader, us, focus on practicalities. These demands can feel idealistic. Finally, communication is a constant misunderstanding between Gen X and Gen Z. Gen X communication is like sending a formal letter. Gen Z thrives on a rapid fire group text, full of emojis and slang terms. A one line email from a Gen Z employee can feel dismissive to a Gen X manager. In turn, a formal email from that manager can feel like a legal summons to go to court to the Gen Z employee, creating a cycle of mutual frustration. How do we bridge the divide? We're actually more alike than we think, okay? With all this conflict, it seems like they're destined to clash. But hidden beneath the frustration are a few surprising points of alignment. First, both generations are pushing back against the old model of workaholic or workaholism. Okay, either or, same thing. Think of it as a 9 to 5 as a ridge wall. Excuse me, a rigid wall. Gen X found that the key to how do I put this? I want to try to find a way. Gen X fought to earn a key to a gate that a wall in that wall with a flexible curtain that they can open and close as they need, if that makes sense. While their methods differ, their goal is technically the same. Second, both are fiercely independent. Gen X's independence, that of a solo sailor, okay? We give them a task and get the hell out of the way and the task will get done. Gen Z's independence is that of a startup founder. They want autonomy to control how, when, and why they work. This is why the 46% of Gen Z want to start their own business, to gain the purpose and control they crave. Finally, both are incredibly adaptable. Gen X has navigated massive technology and economic shifts our entire careers. Gen Zs thrive on learning new skills in a constantly changing digital landscape. This shared adaptability is the only way forward. Gen X leaders who adapt their skill will unlock potential of their teams. This shared adaptability is the only way to move forward. Gen X leaders who adapt their style will unlock the potential of their teams. And Gen Z employees who adapt their communication will build the trust needed to succeed. In conclusion to all this, so who wins the battle of the values? The truth is, really neither. And in a way, both. Think of it like this. Gen X builds the house. They laid the foundation. So we build the house. We laid the foundation for modern work with their pragmatic, results-driven approach. Now the Gen Z show up demanding a gut renovation without asking any permission. They're tearing down the walls of hustle culture, installing floor-to-ceiling windows for transparency, and insisting that a room for mental health is non-negotiable. For the Gen X architects, us, this forced renovation is often frustrating and feels disrespectful to the foundation that we've built. But this isn't just a fight, it's a necessary. if painful, and evolution. The rigid workplace of the past is being dismantled, and a new, more human-centered one is emerging from the conflict. The future won't belong to Gen X or Gen Z. It will be a hybrid, combining the resilience or some form of resilient focus of Gen X with the boundary setting type personality, purpose-driven spirit of Gen Z, a workplace built on the foundation of one generation and forcibly redesigned by the vision of others. If this breakdown helped you understand the generational friction in your office or in your home, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into work culture or life culture. I do have some more coming out. Some of it may be a little sensitive to some people, so I'm letting everyone know ahead of time. And here's a challenge. Share this video with a coworker, family member, or a friend from a different generation. It might be the first step to bridging that divide in your own workplace or your own home. Thanks for watching.